So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in this webinar. We're going to provide a brief understanding of the Small Business Innovation and Economic Security Act, which just passed. We did do a more in-depth webinar on that, which you can see right there. You can copy and paste that. That is on our resources page, and you can see some specific details about the act and its impact on small businesses. We're going to talk briefly about it. We're going to talk about a bid, no bid decision, and the non-topic agency processes, which are different than the topic agency processes. We're going to talk about questions to ask the topic author where that's appropriate and why this interaction is important. And then we're going to talk about some of the tactics of proposal preparation that help you become efficient in it. How you're going to prepare the tech volume from an overall macro idea, strategy to details and tactics, and the commercialization and technology transition strategies. We'll cover that as well. And then at the very end, we'll have some summary and key takeaways. A little bit about TechOp. We're here in Blacksburg, Virginia. We have over 400 clients in 44 states. We help small businesses identify opportunities, secure funding, and establish partnerships, primarily, well, almost exclusively in the non-dilutive arena. So we're not looking for venture capitalists. We're not looking for investors that want to take part of your company. We're looking for a way for you to advance your technology using government grant money that you don't have to pay back. We do capture management, proposal development, training. We are an approved TAPA vendor. We do project management and other, as mentioned there. There's our key to our TechOp website, which you can get on and see a lot of the things that we do. We do proposal development consulting. We coach your team through the process, and people that have used our coaching are improving their win probability by a factor of 4. I put this links in for different agencies that have SBIRs and STTRs. I went through this yesterday and checked them. I think they're good, but they do have a short shelf life, so be patient with me. The bottom line up front to this whole thing is, as you've seen, if you've seen the Field of Dreams, where they all come out of the cornfield, and the premise there is, hey, if we build it, they'll come. Well, let me tell you, that's only in the movies. It is not going to happen in real life. In real life, you're going to need to reach out and touch someone who's interested in what you're doing. We need to move away from the academic research model and to a model that is research for commercialization. Let's talk a little bit about the Reauthorization Act. It has passed both houses of Congress. It's to be presented to the executive branch for signature, veto, or no action. With no action, it'll become law in 10 days, as long as Congress stays in session. Agencies will release their solicitations very soon after this bill becomes law, is our assumption. There's very little in the bill that really influences drastic solicitation changes. There are a few things, so there will need to be some edits, but it's not drastic. So I anticipate proposal submission requirements are going to be basically unchanged. Now, that's my guess. It might not be true, but I think that's going to be true. However, it is very critical to read the solicitation when they come out very carefully. There is one caveat. The number of topics that a small business may bid is going to change. It's going to be limited beginning in October. So you have one last chance in this round to submit multiple proposals that are not limited, but they will be in October 2026. What that limit is, we don't know yet. It's going to be established by the agency lead. We will update our strategy guides. People that worked with us in the past know what that is. We will update our strategy guides for every single agency, which does provide submission guidance for phase 1 and phase 2 and other unique type of solutions. And we do provide those free to small businesses who choose TABA and TechOp, which we'll go through a bit later as to what is TABA. So let's talk a little bit, just a brief overview of the whole process that goes through. How do we get here? Well, there's a Congressional Reauthorization Act that has to come up to establish congressional direction and prescribe funding for the SBIR CTR program. That is a legislation that just passed, S3971. From there, the Small Business Act has to be updated and edited to incorporate the actual legislation into it. If you go read the act, you'll see it says take this paragraph and take these words out and add these words in. So the Small Business Act will need to be edited to incorporate that. I did do a LinkedIn webinar on that, as I mentioned before, and there's a link to it. From there, the Small Business Administration will have to update the SBIR STTR policy directive, which is a single directive by the Small Business Administration that advises agencies. There's a picture of the old one. There will be a new one then each agency has specific regs and procedures they'll put out, specific implementation for each agencies, and they're quite inconsistent. What I just put up is the DoD reference to their agency procedures, but every agency is different, so you have to look at them very carefully. This is the legislation itself, 3971. That's the name of it. It was jointly introduced by Senators Ernst and Markey. It passed the Senate on March the 4th and the House on March the 17th. Goes to the President for signature. Once presented, in 10 days it'll become law. However, the clock begins when Congress returns. They're gone right now. We expect them back in mid-April. That is what you'll see on congress.gov. If you go look at the act, it'll say it passed the House, but it is not at the President yet. It's not been presented there. I'm not quite sure why, but it's not been presented yet. And there's the link for you. The Small Business Act is what is really going to change. We took this legislation and incorporated the changes into the Small Business Act. So there's a Small Business Act before the changes. There it is after the changes. As you can see, I've got track changes turned on, so you can see what changed in the Small Business Act. I then commented on each section of the Small Business Act to include those elements of interest to the small business community and presented the webinar as I mentioned before. And their full presentation is at that link and the slide deck for download. This is what it looked like. It's a line-by-line assessment of every single page of the Small Business Act, what changed, and what the impact was, at least in my opinion, on the small business. The comments are aligned with the edited Small Business Act so that you can follow along more easily. There are some limits in the proposal submission, as you've heard, I'm sure. However, the thing you need to realize is that begins in fiscal 27, which is October of 2026. Each agency director shall establish a limit on the number of Phase 1 and Phase 2 proposals a small business company may submit in a single fiscal year. But that begins in October of 2026. It's not right now. Okay, bid, no bid decision. Let's talk about this. Here's our DoD Phase 1 award statistics. I know it's fiscal 22, which seems kind of old, but that's the latest information that's out there right now. For Phase 1, you can see the selection rate for the Air Force is like 24%. I think that's because of AFWERX. They award a lot of those Phase 1s. Used to be a lot of the $75,000 Phase 1s that were awarded. Phase 2, the Navy is pretty high too. I think that's because of the initial Phase 2 that they do. And if your initial Phase 2 is submitted and accepted, then your final Phase 2 is pretty much guaranteed, which means that if you did not accept the initial Phase 2, you're not going to submit your final Phase 2, so it doesn't get into the pile of data, which is why I think the 92% is so high. But you can see the majority of Phase 2s are awarded through all of the agencies. The overall percentage, at least as of this data, was 19%. So that means you submit 5 proposals to win 1. But we can help you with that national average. People that consult with us on Phase 1 proposals win at 4 times the national average, which at one time was 15%, which is why I say 4 times. And there's the award statistics. There are topics out there right now, as you probably know. 23 topics are currently released. They claim to be opening on the 15th of April and close on the 13th of May. I'm going to suggest that those dates are going to be updated because I doubt seriously that by the 15th of April, DoD will be ready to open these topics. And a lot of that's because over on the right-hand column where the component instructions are, those instructions I think are going to need to be edited. I know they have to be edited for TABA because many of these agencies don't offer TABA, and now they have to. So there will be some changes, in my opinion. There's a link, a button you can click on to get to the link for that. So let's think about the decision process. Now, this is for topic release agencies. Realize that there are different types of agencies. NSF, NIH don't release topics. They may issue a NOFO, or NSF doesn't do any of that, and you can apply to them. But for most agencies, there are topics that come out. So the decision process. Let's look at the solicitation. Search using your key competencies and identify topics of interest. Determine what's it going to take to submit, how many pages, what's the gap analysis, if I got time, resources, competency to bid, and if I win, can I execute? And then is the topic wired? And is it a problem looking for a solution or a solution looking for implementation? Sometimes you can look at the topic and read it and go, well, they're telling us exactly what to do. We just need to do it. Well, that tells me somebody has been in there and has given them a lot more information than you might have in a typical R&D project. Look at the references. Are your competitors there? Check out SBIR.gov and see who the prior awardees for similar topics and the same author are. That doesn't mean that you can't go bid on and win a topic that appears to have been seeded by another small business, but you should just know. Make that topic author call, research a person, find out connection points. And what I mean is, did you go to the same school? Do you live in the same state? Do you have the same type of degree? Learn about their interests and competencies. You get on ResearchGate and find out if they publish any papers. Do all kinds of things to prepare yourself for a phone call. When you get on the phone, have your questions written out, email them, execute the call, assess your vibes that you get from that call. They're not going to tell you to bid or not to bid, but you can pretty much tell if the discussion is one in which is positive. You're going to be listening a lot more than you talk. And then weigh the cost of bidding. Typically around 60 hours and 4 to 6 weeks for a 10 to 20 page tech volume, plus time for costing and other sections. I'm going to say this several times during this webinar: either commit to do your best or wait. Of course, a poor impression is really hard to erase. There are non-topic agencies. NSF has a unique process. It's defined here. That underlined is the link to their process, which is different. You start with a project pitch, and then you get a response from them, and you can submit a proposal after that. NIH is the same way. They have a different process. It's not the exact same process. They don't have a project pitch, but the process is defined there in that link. And the key is to talk through your idea with NIH staff. That's really important. And I think that's true for NSF as well, but it's not necessarily prescriptive, but I do think it's important. We recommend that. But you certainly don't submit cold. You've got to do your homework first. So let's talk about this topic author. There's key efforts that are overlooked for these topic agencies. I think you really need to research this topic technology. You need to research the author, the agency, the division it's in, who's your competition, what's your competition success rate, and then talk to the topic author. As I said, assess the vibes and openness to your ideas, but listen to understand what is the operational use case. That's your key, is to really understand the use case and get the topic author to identify the end user. Where is this going? Who really uses this? Where did the problem come from? And then do a gap analysis for phase one execution. If you can't do everything that needs to be done to finish phase one, go find yourself some partners. Someone has to focus on playing the proposal document itself, which is your initial deliverable, format, compliance, a compelling message, and so forth. I think you need to storyboard or template to the requirements as quickly as possible. And another person can then focus on the problem and the solution, the technical solution to the use case. But I put a little star there because so many times we focus so much on the solution, we forget about the proposal requirements. So we get to the end and go, oh, there's a commercialization section. I forgot all about that. Someone needs to do that right off the bat so you know what you're facing. There are non-topic agencies that you need to prepare for as well, like NSF and NIH. There, you really need to research the agency's mission and dig down to sub-elements and associated program managers. Research program managers, their background, research papers, tee up an introduction, drop them an email, get on the phone with them, not a sales call, but a call to learn of their interests and what they're working on. And then align their interests with your core competencies. Float an idea, note their response, discuss use cases, identify end users, pretty much like for the call to a topic author as well. And then see if you can identify the benefits to the end user if you're going to be successful in your research. All these are just key elements, nuggets that you're going to put into your proposal. If you can hear those from someone in the agency, they're going to be very, very credible. Follow the process for initial submission, and each one is going to be unique. As I said, for NSF, you're going to be looking at these different areas. You're going to be submitting a project pitch. For NIH, the researcher-initiated ideas are proposed via the SBIR and SCTR omnibus grant solicitation. So it's a little bit different. They have standard application due dates, or they did. Now things may change, but that's the way it was as we went to press here. Someone needs to focus on planning the proposal document, the deliverable, and somebody else focus on the problem and the solution. So why do you want to talk to the topic author for these topic release agencies? Well, I think it's key to making that bid, no bid decision. Sometimes in that call, you can spot an entrenched competitor or a wired topic because you can hear from the topic author. They're telling you exactly what they want to have done. They've got somebody that's given them a great idea, and they just want to put it out for competition and use SBIR money. So you can hear that. You just need to listen. You can understand all the requirements. You can determine the vision for transition. Where did the topic come from? That's really important. Did it come from the field? Is it just some idea of trying to advance technology? Where did it come from? And you can introduce yourself so you don't submit cold, but you're not selling in this call. You need to be talking to the topic author, but you need to be listening more than you talk. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen a lot to the topic author. That's the key. Here's some questions that I think you can ask to the topic author. I have these in an email. They'll also be here, and there are other ideas too that we have that you'd like to reach out. But where did the topic come from? Is it from field operations? What's the problem? What's an ideal solution? Is there a program of record with funds waiting? Or are you just generally advancing the state of the art? Well, what is the challenge? Why is it hard to achieve that? Will the solution be sold directly to the agency or through a prime? You need to know that. Who are the primes? Do I need to partner with them in phase one or phase two? What's an ideal outcome for the phase one and phase two projects? Do you see a non-DoD application we consider in our commercialization plan? Don't pepper them with questions, boom, 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 boom. But you really want to get these types of answers in that conversation with the topic author. Let's talk briefly about the basics of proposal development. First of all, what is a proposal? It's a sales document. And a lot of us, coming from the academic background, we're used to writing technical papers that get published in these places, and we end up writing a proposal like that. Well, the proposal is selling your company and your technical approach. You don't lead with you. Your company or your solution. A good salesperson always starts with the customer's need. Go buy a car, first thing they're going to ask you is, what do you need? How do you use your car? What do you like? You're trying to draw out of the buyer what they want. And that's what you need to do as well. You need to focus on the end user and how your solution impacts them. This is not a research paper. This is not textbook. This is not Wikipedia. It's not you beating your chest about great technologies. It's selling. It's selling. You need to bid to agencies who know you. Don't introduce your company in the proposal. That's a sure way to lower your win probability. So as I say, the key is this is a sales document. And that comes off kind of almost dirty to us engineers. But at the same time, that's what it is, and we have to understand that. Some basics. I don't think proposals are read, especially in this round that's coming up. They're going to get so many proposals because it's the last time that you could submit without some limit. And there's just not going to be time. I mean, I know AFWorks used to get something like 1,000 proposals. There is no way they had time to read all those. So I don't think they're read, but they have to be evaluated. So you want to make it easy for the evaluator to find the criteria, focus on the criteria wording, mimic that in your text. Just make it easy for that evaluator. Compliance with the instructions is the first gate. If you're non-compliant, you'll get rejected. And I imagine with all the proposals that are going to come out in this next round, each one of those is going to circle through a GS.5, is going to measure the margins and see if you're over the page limit, see if your font's the right size or not. And if anything can be done to get you out of the review pile, they're going to be heroes. So you want to make sure that you're compliant. Follow the instructions precisely, in order, using their language. And then how does your solution impact the end user? What kind of operational improvements are possible? And you learn this from the topic author. So I know that's kind of a bold statement, but I validated that with evaluators who said, yeah, hey, I had a tea time at 4 o'clock and 10 proposals to review, and it was 10 in the morning. No, I did not sit down and read them all very carefully, but I went through and evaluated the best I can. So let me tell you, you need to focus on evaluation criteria. Here's a typical lifestyle that I'm going to go through pretty quickly. At pre-solicitation marketing, as you can see, I've got in there a little days until delivery, reviewing the topic description when they first come out, talking to the topic author, making that decision, creating a compliant outline, a compelling message. I think you go to ability text next, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Find your transition partner, get your letters of support, get the first draft out. And yeah, I know that looks like almost 3 weeks before it's due. It's certainly 15 days, but I think that's important. Getting the red team review, final review, tech edit, submit the thing. And then when you're done, put your feet up. Thank the people that helped you work on the thing. Have a submission party, get a lessons learned meeting. But I think it's typically 6 to 8 weeks. I really dissuade you from jumping in at the last minute because a poor impression, as I've said before, is really hard to erase. Weigh the cost of bidding. A rule of thumb for a phase one technical proposal for a senior person is about 60 hours from start to finish. And I've heard that from many different sources. Additional hours for the cost volume, other deliverables. Some people hire consultants to help and reduce the in-house expenses and the lost opportunity cost, because the 60 hours that you're spent writing this proposal is 60 hours you could spend doing something else. So, if hiring someone to help can reduce the senior person labor expenses by about a third, is what we've heard. So from 60 hours down to about 40 hours, there's still work on your behalf. I don't personally believe in grant writers where you hand something over to somebody else, let them write it. To me, that's not a good idea. I definitely do not believe in AI to be writing proposals. That's a terrible idea. because when time comes to actually execute, Mr. AI is gone. You need to commit to creating a document early in the cycle, avoid last minute stress and mistakes, and afford a thorough fine tuning. And if you can't commit, don't bid. Don't bid. A poor impression is really hard to erase. Let it be a lessons learned to you that you need to get in the game quicker, but don't put something in that's bad. The evaluation criteria, this is a scorecard from DoD. Each one of the agencies has their own scorecard, but this one says it's best value to the government considering these factors listed in descending order of importance, which is not very empirical, but anyway. Soundness, technical merit, you can see the words that are up there. Cost or budget data will be considered, but these are the key words that an evaluator is looking for when they read your proposal. Soundness. Who knows what that means? I don't even know what that word means. Technical merit, innovation. What does innovation mean? I mean, these are key words showing incremental progress towards a solution. The ability to commercialize the results is really important. The benefits to accrue from this commercialization. You remember that talking to the topic author? Hopefully you learn what those benefits to the end user are from that discussion. I think throughout the document, you should put markers to help guide the evaluator. Put yourself in the evaluator's seat. It's really hard. We do what we call a boot camp here at TechOp. We offer to the companies where we put them in the evaluator seat and we guide them through evaluating some of their own proposals that have not won. And it turns them into evaluation evangelists, I tell you, because it's hard. It's really hard work. But you put guides in the document to help them find it, and you're very consistent using their language. And what I mean by guides is, hey, here's the work plan. That's evaluation criteria number one. You put a little bullet up, a little box up there to show them where they are, and that's very helpful. But then we also put other ways to help guide them too, which I'll show you here in a minute. So I think efficiently in write proposals efficiently. They're not necessarily fun. I mean, some of us think they are, but we're kind of strange. But you need to prepare yourself, be willing to commit the time and energy, do your best. Only compete when you can win, and wait until the end to write your proposal narrative. And when I say you can win, that means you've really done your homework. You've got a solution. You've talked to the author. You've got something to offer. Okay, and vet and recruit the perfect transition partner. And if you can't win this topic, write your own. And what that means is, between cycles, go meet some people at the Army, at the Navy, at the Air Force, at NSF. Talk to them, get some ideas out on the table, maybe seed a topic. It can be done. It can be done. I think you write at the end, you plan your document, create a template that's compliant, define and refine your elevator story, which is like the quick story that you would say, this is my solution. You just be able to do that in a few seconds, really. Put bullet points in each section, review the macro, and only then write the narrative. There's a picture of the process that we think is an efficient way to get things written. Proposal tasks, technical tasks, you can see those on the left and right, and you can look at that later. We do offer strategy guides, which are compliant outlines with page counts, suggestions for content and presentation format, and they emphasize the evaluation criteria and make it easy to evaluate. As I said before, choosing TechOp for TABA will offer you this free strategy guide in MS Word document format, so people use these actually as the template for the proposal, because all the fonts are right, the margins are right, the headers are right, the footers are right, and so forth. And there's just an example of one. We have strategy guides for every agency, for every solicitation, anything that any of our clients are interested in. I create a strategy guide for them. And if you want that document in unprotected format, just choose discretionary TABA, and TechOp is your provider. Email Matt, and he will be glad to see that you get that strategy guide. You know, commercialization and technology transition is really important. If you look at the DoD program description, it talks about commercialization, increasing a private sector's federal R&D commercialization, enabling small business companies to explore their technological potential and incentivize commercialization products. Commercialization is important to the program. TABA is there to enable commercialization. Technical and business assistance is agency-funded commercialization assistance. Many people see this in a solicitation. They're not quite sure what it is. They don't have time to figure it out, and they skip it. Not a really good idea, in my opinion. It is extra funds for commercialization offered by many agencies. I confess that TABA has somewhat been discredited from some subpar performers. We've had small businesses come to us and give us the stories of their TABA providers, which is it's just really sad. But the funds should be beneficial to outsource commercialization efforts. You should be able to do that and let your team focus on TRL advancement. Your TABA provider should work. There are specific agency solicitation requirements, like, for example, the annual Army BA that's out right now is in Section 1.9. You've got to request TABA. TABA is not going to just be handed to you as a part of your award. You have to request it. It's funded by the agency in many cases at $6,500 for phase one. It's in addition to the phase one in most cases. Now, the new legislation that came out is going to give each agency the decision to decide whether it's included or on top of. So you're going to have to read the solicitation to see. But the point is, you need to request it with your phase one proposal, and you need to specify a TABA provider. There are qualifications that apply. TechOp does qualify. Just send your topic number, and Matt Rose will send you a letter of commitment and instructions. There's not really a list out there of TABA providers that I've found. DOE has one, but there's not one that I've seen. When I go online and just do TABA provider, heaven knows what you end up with. But there is a DOE list. I know TechOp's on that list and some of the others, but you do need to specify it at the time. There were changes in the Reauthorization Act to TABA. TABA is now for all agencies. As you can see, each federal agency shall authorize recipients to select its desired TABA. So it's there for everybody. And there's no more agency TABA. So, Army at one point had picked somebody and said, hey, this is our preferred TABA vendor. If you want to do it on your own, you got to pay out of your own pocket, blah, blah, a lot of different words like that. Some of the other vendors like NOAA, or agencies like NOAA, had their own TABA vendor. You had no choice. That's not true anymore. There are no more agency TABA vendors. It's discretionary in total. So what to expect from TABA? Brainstorm with the project team for market ideas and commercialization strategy. We as a TABA provider interview your agency technical point of contact to learn about program of record suggestions and contacts there. Market surveys to identify specific companies, programs of record, decision makers. Reach out and create business relationships and learn end user use case specifics and discuss partnering for phase two and even beyond. The objective is to acquire a transition partner for phase two and to solidify a phase three commercialization strategy that goes in the phase two proposal. So your TABA provider, I know that's what TechOp does. When you're done with phase one, you have got a phase three commercialization strategy ready to go into your phase two proposal. You don't have to be working on that. So in summary, these are some significant discriminators that can take you into the winner's circle. Most proposals are very technically dense. They attempt to convince the agency the technology is credible. Like I said, many of us come from an academic background, and we're like writing papers that's going to go in Science magazine or something to explain to our peers, our technical peers, how wonderful our stuff is. And that's what we read. But that's not going to work. That's not working in the SBIR TTR program. You've got to be connected with the use case. Very few proposals that I've read emphasize the benefits to the end user. In fact, very few even identify who the end user is. What's the real operational knowledge from research into the challenge? If you've got that in there, you've got a tremendous leg up. Many proposals don't have the evaluation criteria words anywhere. How frustrating to the evaluator when they've got to evaluate the soundness of your technical approach. They're like, how am I going to do that? Whereby if you wrote in there somewhere, our technical approach is sound because that really helps them. So it's really important to do that. And most of the proposals I read don't have them in anywhere. People forget about it altogether. And unsubstantiated claims are just as frustrating and quickly pile up to get your proposal eliminated. You need to be factual. You can't say you're the biggest, the fastest, the greatest. You can't be throwing numbers out that are not justified. And this is the real risk of AI in any of this, because you start digging into where did AI get that data, you're going to be going down bunny trails that may lead you back to Reddit. So you really need to make sure that you substantiate every claim you put in there. And attention to detail. Compliance is a stumbling block. I mean, the last thing you want is to be rejected administratively because your margins were the wrong size, right? You put 60 hours of work, you submitted what you thought was a great technical solution, and the margin was wrong, and you got pitched into the do not review pile, right? So here's some key takeaways. When the solicitations come out, read them carefully to determine submission requirements. You need to be completely and totally compliant. Follow their outline in order. Make sure the fonts are right, the margins are right, your page counts are right. They may not be read, as I said, but they're definitely evaluated. Carefully review the evaluation criteria, the specific words. Map the criteria to the prescriptive outline. For every outline section, which criteria are being addressed there, and put those little pointers in, like I showed you. Make it very clear how you're going to spend their money. You give me this money, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to get at the end of phase one. That's a very specific deliverable. And the work plan needs to include not only this is what you're going to do, but how you're going to do it. I'm going to write scripts in MATLAB. I'm going to use some modeling and simulation. I'm going to go into the laboratory and do this. So it's not just what you're doing, but how you're going to do it. Understand the identified operational use case thoroughly. How do they do this today? Why can't they just go to Walmart and buy a solution? What are the end user's key performance parameters? If you're not really sure about key performance parameters, shoot me an email. I'll go through that with you. It's really, really important. But your research and development should improve those key performance parameters empirically. The thing weighs a pound now, it needs to weigh a half a pound. That's a key performance parameter. Emphasize commercialization as a return on investment for the agency's investment. They're putting money out. You've got some program manager at the Army, the Navy, or NOAA or somewhere who's going to say, all right, I'm going to give this company $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, and I expect them to deliver. And then when you don't, I mean, that's a real embarrassment to that person. I mean, you've got to show them that there is a return on their investment. The initial use case is often an agency program of record. Alternate use cases can increase sales and the footprint. The implication is that greater sales reduce costs to everybody, right? And please note this round is your last chance to bid without restriction on the number of proposals you can submit. And that's not to say that some agencies are going to have a broad aperture on that. I don't know. We just don't know. This is a bit of a catch-22 for many small businesses because we haven't had SBIR CTR opportunities since September, October. And I know staffing has been reduced. It had to be. I mean, you just can't pay people when you don't have income coming in. So it may be at this point for you to bid, hey, there's a great pile of topics I could bid on. I don't have enough people to do this. You may need to outsource. And that is something that I think can be used to help you get these bids in. All right, we've got some time if you want to shoot some questions. Oh, I forgot to tell you how. How do they do that? I forgot.
Just in the comments section.
Just in the comment section. In the comment section, put any questions that you have. You're not limited to this time. You can email me. I'm going to put, here's the next steps. Reach out with questions. We'll send you the slides. The contact information is provided. As long as we have your information, if you put your email contact there in LinkedIn for Matt, he will get the slides to you. Otherwise, they'll be on our portal and it'll be posted on our YouTube page. And then we can assist you in the bid, no bid decision. We can help you do a keyword topic search. What are your keywords? Do they line up with topics? We have a tool online right now that allows you to go on our website and you can enter your keywords and we will send you topics that align with those. So all those are things that you can do. There's my contact information. Feel free to drop me an email with any questions that you have. Welcome to pick up the phone and call if you want. That's fine too. When all this is going to hit the fan, we don't know. We don't know for sure. We're guessing early May. I'm thinking it's probably going to be a month before you're going to be called into action to start writing proposals. But that's just my guess. My crystal ball has not been very accurate lately. So I'm happy that everyone was able to spend some time here and join me in this. Once again, feel free to reach out at any time. I'll be glad to discuss any specific topic you have. Discuss any process that you have questions about in regards to NSF or NOAA or NASA or one of these agencies, because NASA's changing, as you've probably read. They're changing the way they do SBIRs. They're going to more of a BAA approach like the DoD does. So feel free to reach out at any time. I think we do have a question. When you're trying to get a team together, that's a really good question. I would go to SBIR.gov and I would put your technology in and see who had won topics in that area in the past. And then you can go read their abstracts and you will be able to, through SBIR.gov, find out who their points of contact are, their PI as well as their administrative contact. So I think that's the place to go. Go to SBIR.gov. You go in there and you can go to the portfolio and pull down to award data. And in there's a slot for keywords. You can put your keywords in or the keywords associated with the topic you want to bid, and it will bring up a list of every award that has those keywords in it. You can search through there and see who's been involved in that. You can also reach out to us. We have a portfolio of about 400 clients all over the U.S. with all kinds of technologies and all kinds of capabilities. And we'd be glad to help do some matchmaking for you as well. And there's no charge for that. All right. Well, thank you. Here's my best to you as you head into this Easter and Passover weekend. I hope the best for you. And it's a special weekend for everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thank you. It's Randy Simpson at Tech Ops signing off.